Hi, welcome back to another weekly homestead update. We're going to start at the other side of the garden this week. First off, we've got the calamansi, and this seems to be doing pretty well. We're less than a foot tall still. If I can get this camera down, kind of see that. And that tree is almost 2 years old now, year and a half, something like that. But it looks healthy. So hopefully next year that'll spring up. Now, I have been in the process. Sun doesn't seem to want to behave with us. There we go. I have been taking that pile of dirt that was left over from when the septic was built, and I'm working on filling 2 of the new raised beds over there with that. Didn't get very far this week. Unfortunately, where we are, it's gotten cold, and with the time zone change, sundown is now at 5:30. So I get off at work at 5, and I just don't have a lot of motivation to be out here working in the cold for a half hour. So a lot of this is going to go dormant until next spring. I did get, sorry, neighbor. I did get the blocks put up and leveled for the second half of the rainwater capture. I still don't know how to get it all rigged up, but we'll get there. The cherry tomatoes, as you can see by that giant bush, that's all one plant, are continuing to put on foliage, but I don't see a lot of fruit in here. There's a little bit, but like if you look in there, there's a little bit of fruit grown, but nothing turning red yet. And then over here, we've got kind of the star of the garden this spring, which is the Thai chilies and some serranos in here. But like this bush, all of these bushes, I harvested a pile off them already. They're putting on new fruit, and they're putting on flowers. You can see some of the fruit there. So I've got probably 1.5 liters of hot sauce at this point. I'm going to be giving away peppers to some friends at church. Over here, we've got the leftovers of the original tomato bed. Now, there's almost no fruit coming out here. These are just leftover plants from spring that managed to survive the summer. And they are putting on flowers, as you can see, but I don't see any actual fruits on any of this. And it needs to be pruned and get more airflow in there. But these things are just getting monstrous. Just let me, for comparison. Like, take a look at those plants relative to my height. And admittedly, I'm short, but still, they've gotten pretty big. Okay, let's walk over here. Chard is continuing to produce way faster than I can use it. If you look at that plant, that's our chard. And I mean, look at those leaves. Those are huge leaves. They're kind of leathery, but you know, you dehydrate, put it in soup, it's fine. Over here, this plant and that one that's falling over are my wife's bell peppers. And dig under here, we got peppers growing. There's a bell pepper. Unfortunately, these are just like completely fallen over, and I'm not quite sure what to do about that. Like, that's another pepper plant that's just fallen over. I think I'm going to cage all of the peppers next year. Like, use these tall cages for the tomatoes, and then use the shorter cages for the peppers. To buy some more cages, because like if you look at this bed, you can see things are just like falling out of the bed all over the place. And our onions, before I forget, they've got, zoom in on a couple of these. They started putting on tops, so they're developing. It's cold, but they don't seem to mind too much. That's weeds. A lot of weeds out here. Hopefully that isn't competing too much. But that entire bed is coming alive again. Now, the calamansi that we transplanted over there. It's 1, 2, 3. I think the fourth one's on the other side of that tomato. Yeah, 4. And then these bases. Honestly, they're not looking that great, but at the same time, let's just camel put it, they are putting on new growth right there. And got little buds growing on this camera focus on that one. So hopefully these will start producing and getting all bushy. If they survive the winter, we're going to put them in the ground. But I don't know if they're going to survive the winter. Oh, and right over here, got one of the buckets of tomato. This is the only bucket that survived. But if we look in there, we've got 2 tomatoes growing. So we'll see if they actually produce before freeze. We're still a month or so before freeze. And I repainted the top of the chicken coop over there. I'm still don't have chickens yet, again, after the first flock was killed by a random stray dog. But I need to repaint the top, and we're gonna put a run back here. I'm kind of thinking those trees there will get cut, and I'll put together a 16 by 16 foot run kind of on this side of the coop, just connected. It's going to have to be connected to offset, because if I put it so it's like straight corner to the coop, that tree back there would get in the way, and that thing's giant to cut down. Granted, chainsaws are fun, so we'll see how that goes. And this last weekend, I also finally got a roof put on the woodshed after several weeks of putting that off. So that's pretty much it for the last week and a half. Excuse me. If you're not already gardening, I'd highly recommend it. If you're not raising chickens, I'd recommend that too, but those are a little more work and more trouble, and as you can see, I don't have chickens at the moment. Anyways, y'all have a good week. Also, forgot to mention, the zoning maps for gardening got redrawn, so I actually moved from Zone 8B to Zone 9A. And I know a lot of people are making a big deal about this online. The climate in my backyard hasn't changed in the last week. The fact that it went from on the map from Zone 8B to Zone 9A doesn't really affect me. But welcome to the new zone.